You want to adjust the receiver? Oh. We discussed the principle that midas are created from the seichel. And he discussed in detail the midah of ahava, chesed, and then the midah of gvura, of yirah, where we see that the different the focus of the seichel gives birth to a different midah. And then, again, he points out how it is entirely dependent on the seichel, that in order to give birth to a midah, the seichel has to be deeply engrossed in this contemplation. Knowledge alone is not going to do it.
Deeply engrossed?
Engrossed. Hamokas adas. Engrossed. Delved. Submerged. And without that, the midah will not be born. Because the midah does not know what's going on unless you actually bring it to it.
It's only derech to reveal, to make the midah, only she should know. It's not possible in other ways.
Right. The midah is the real midas of nefesh u'lekis. Midah is there are significant midas, not midas of the behemoth midas. They have to be aroused and created by the seichel. When they are created by the seichel, we call it heilodas hamidas, which means that in the nefesh there is definitely the capacity for midas, except they cannot come forth, be revealed, except through the seichel.
The capacity?
The ability, the koyach.
Brian, we're talking about midas that are natural, but we have to reveal them through seichel, or midas that we create through seichel?
No. The midas are natural, and we have to reveal them to seichel. But this revelation is similar to giving birth. Because without this revelation, without the effect of seichel, the midah is completely dormant and is not functioning at all.
This is in the Eitzer, Eitzer Nachman while the light's off, right? You're standing right next to it.
That's right.
There. For sure you want it, but until you know that it's there,
That's right.
it doesn't exist.
That's right.
So, but we are not talking then about the midas that we create through the seichel. We're not talking about the kind of midas that are born through seichel, but the midas that are concealed and that are revealed through seichel.
That's revealed through seichel means born through seichel.
I'm confused. There's not these two things, like midas that are born through contemplation and midas that are just revealed.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, because in order for the midah to reveal itself, it has to become aware of the union that it likes or dislikes. And the only way for it to become aware is through the seichel. This is similar to what I explained the other day about what the Gemara says, that if the Torah were not given, then we would still learn various qualities from various animals. Remember that discussion? So,
from the cat.
I'm sorry?
Another humbling from the cat.
Tznius.
Yes.
Tznius from the cat. So what does it mean, tznius? How would we learn from the cat? How would we learn from the cat?
The cat do this because of instincts. The society seems to do. Doesn't understand what he's doing this.
Right.
And from the cat, we see the right thing to do, so we should do it too. We understand this. We understand after this society.
But we understand that it's right. So why do we need the cat to tell us? We understand ourselves that sneeze is the right thing. So why do we need a cat?
He brings the heat. This is the right thing. We understand maybe it's right, maybe it's not. But because cat do this, so even cats can do this. So we should understand. We have.
Well, this is exactly what I explained to you the other day, just the opposite. It isn't that if the cat is doing it, so we would be embarrassed for the cat and do it. That's not what it means at all.
When we dig in ourselves, so we feel it there.
We would understand it on our own. Except nothing would trigger it. Because our seichel, we know that we are human. We know that we have the seichel. But nothing triggers that particular quality. And we don't we don't become aware of it.
Trigger?
Sparks. What a spark is? Nothing ignites it, nothing brings it out. When we notice, then we know, when we see it, then we see it. Then we see that it's good. But we see that it's good. We don't do it because we're embarrassed from the cat. Our own seichel knows that it's good. And when we are going to tell somebody else, to tell our child, he should be tzniizdik, we don't tell him, be tzniizdik, so that the cat will not embarrass you. We tell him that be tzniizdik because it's a human thing to do.
It can give to us the spark, wow. Yeah,
We notice, we recognize that this is a good thing. Okay? Just like airplanes. If we didn't have birds flying around, people would never think of airplanes. Right? Never think such thing. Never even occurred to them. They see that, say, okay, maybe it's a good thing. I'd like to fly up there. So figure out ways to do it. But it's there, the human own mind that says, I'd like to do it. We're not mimicking the birds. We're doing it on our own.
Right, I don't understand. If we can come to it, if we can feel that it's right to be music, then the whole lashon, we would learn it from the cat, seems to mean that we wouldn't come up by, okay, it triggers it, but if it's really part of us, that we know it.
One second, you can argue with me on the lashon. Do you understand?
No, not the lashon. I don't understand why we would need the cat if it's something that we can relate to by ourselves. We don't need to see the cat do it to trigger it. Like, why wouldn't the cat? Because if we don't learn it.
It wouldn't occur to us. We wouldn't notice that there's anything wrong. When we see it, we say, yeah, that's a better way to do things. When we don't see it, we don't see it.
It's like we see the chokhmah and we out and we begin to relate to it.
Yeah.
Like
No.
If we don't see birds, maybe nobody ever gonna start to think to fly like.
That's right.
But when, wow, it's fly, they fly. Can we fly? And you start to relate to this.
That's right. Then you say, Seichel tells you, yes, I can fly, or I'd like to fly. Without seeing it, they would never think of flying. So the Seichel is ours. The Niders are real. They're not forced by the Seichel. They are created. They're born. Born means that there is a potential for them. There's a source. Except the Seichel has to be the means by which it wakes up.
So what's the difference between nature love and Avat Sechli?
Say again?
Avat Teviyos, Midas Teviyos, Avira Teviyos, and Sichlios. If you say everything it's in us, it's no Midas Sichlios, just you reveal what you already have.
No. Midas Sichlios means that in the midah you recognize that it is a correct thing. Just like tznius, that we just now talked about. There is the natural tznius that a person has, that is embarrassed. He wants to see private. And then there is the sichli, that he recognizes that this is the right thing. It's not just embarrassed, this is a correct thing. And tznius by us is not limited to when we are in front of other people, even when we are in private, in our own chambers by ourselves, so there's also tznius. Because that's the right human that's midas apiseichel.
So the difference in Tevi and Sechli, Tevi, you like to do something, but you're not exactly sure why you do it. You just love it. But Sechli, you like understand why you love it. Not only love it.
That's right. Okay. Now we go for, so we discussed, as we said, the two midas of Chesed and Gvura and Abba Paltiel, and we pointed out the different hisboinenus of the Seichel that brings out these two different midas. One midah is the Ahava that draws a person close, and Yira is that a person pushes away to stand afar, in awe and respect. V'zehu, and thus this is what we mean when we say the Helod as Hamidas Ahava V'Yira B'Lei, that the birth of the midas of Ahava V'Yira in the heart, Hu alidei hasogas hamoichin v'hai hisboinenus dafka. It comes only through the process of hasogas hamoichin, of a comprehension, and then hisboinenus and contemplation. V'alidei hadas, and then further through das. Shehu pnimius hamidas, the das which is the pnimius of the midas, meaning this is the the force, the pnimis amidus means the force behind the midas. Like we discussed in the previous ois, that if a person does not have das, if he doesn't feel himself, so then even things that are very beloved to him, or things that are very objectionable to him, he will not feel.
Objectionable?
Objectionable, that he doesn't like. So therefore the das is the pnimius of the midas. This is the force behind the midas. And it's called Maftecha de Kolil Shis. Maftecha means the key. Maftecha, the key, the Kolil Shis, that includes 6, which means includes the 6 midas. This is the key for the 6 midas. K'meshekosu b'Zohar, as the Zohar writes. So these are the forces, the preparation that are necessary for midas. Hasoga and his bonus, and then das, and also das. Ukmoi keinu midas hatiferes. The similar Indian is by the midah of tiferes. We spoke about Abba and Yira, Chesed and Gvura. But then there is a third midah. And this is called Tiferes. Tiferes has a very unique quality. Abba v'yira, we said before, is Abba is something that draws you near, and Yira is that keeps you afar. Tiferes combines both of these qualities. When you say, for instance, that you have Yira, you stay apart, you stay away. When you stay away, that means that you're even you're even shy to look at it. Like it says by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was in the desert and he saw the fire in the shrub, and he wanted to come over closer to see it. And Hashem called him and said, "This is a holy place." Then it says, "Vayasten Moshe Pono." Moshe hid his face because Ki Yore Mehabet Elokim, he got scared. He was afraid to look at Hashem, to look at Elokus. So that the Yira turns you away, that you're afraid even. You see a great thing, but you're afraid to look to observe it. Ahava is the opposite. Ahava, not only you want to observe it, you want to connect to it. Tiferes has a combination of both qualities. On the one hand, he observes the greatness of it, the beauty. And at the same time, he's rejoicing and he celebrates its greatness, but not in terms of a personal, of coming close personally. Because coming close personally, he's had too much respect. But neither is he hiding away. He is contemplating it, and he is observing it, and he's, so to speak, enjoying, observing it from afar.
Seems more objective when you put it that way. It's more objective than Abba V'yira.
It's
because you appreciate it like you do with Abba, that you want to look at it, but it doesn't have that sense of personal, like the subjection is like, because it's so great, I want to get near to it now. You can appreciate its greatness, but you can stand at a distance. You know that you're
Right.
standing at a distance, you don't feel the need to cover your face.
Yeah, you don't want to cover your face, but neither are you going to come close to it because you see this is a wonderful thing. You know, like I mentioned to you the other day, that you have this diamond that people are afraid to touch. They're not scared of it, but they just and they want to see it, but he doesn't dare go and play with it like you play with a bubble, with
You say that so
the ball.
Is it fair to say that Tiferes is a more of an objective midah, the midah which connects more to the chachma which gave birth to it, ultimately?
Right, we'll see in a minute. Tiferes is a richer midah. Tiferes is more reflective of the nefesh itself. Tiferes is less bound and limited by the fact by my personal presence. He actually recognizes the greatness of the inyan itself.
Question. If it's not for this point, then you can tell me that I'll ask you after the class. I'm not sure if it's exactly to this, but now if I it's under something different, but Abba, you say that you want to draw close, and Iris, you want to take distance. But you say also that to take distance, you have to relate to the thing that you're talking about. So, what really makes you have Abba and Iris instead of Abba? If the relationship is what makes that you see the greatness, so why when I relate to something great, I want to get close, and sometimes I relate to something, but I relate by being far, like this I never understood. Maybe, like, I don't know.
Ahava, let me explain. Ahava is when you contemplate how great is the king that is bestowing kindness on you. So you appreciate his goodness. Yireh is when you recognize that he is removed from you. He's in a different category. You recognize his greatness in a categorical manner, not how it relates to you, but how he is unto himself. And there you don't dare come close. This is Abba V'Yireh, and Tiferes we will see now. Tiferes says, Shehu inyan simchas halev. The midah Tiferes is expressed in simchas halev, in the joy of the heart. The Tiferes Havaya, in the glory and beauty of Havaya, V'hadar ge'oina, in the beauty of his greatness. He rejoices in recognition of the greatness and the beauty of Havaya.
What's the difference between Tiferes and Hadar?
I will try to identify the difference between these words, but in general I want to tell you, we will find different expressions. There are differences in Lashon Kodesh. Everything has a special implication. But to find English translations for all the very fine nuances of midas, at least I don't have that capacity. Right? Tiferes means the multifaceted, the great expression, the multicolors, something that spreads out in every direction in every way. It expresses itself in different forms and all merging together in a proper measure. So Tiferes. And Hodor is Hodor is more like the richness of color. Perhaps we could say that sometimes you have a color red, you have a dull color, and you have a rich color.
Dull is like what, like dark?
What?
What do you mean dull? Like dark?
No, dull is it's not no.
No, it's bright.
Right, it's not living. If you take the Siddur and you say, Kein choivos kol ha'itzurim lehoides lahalel, leshabeach, lefoel, lereimem, lahade, levorech, leyali, ulkalis. If you find perfect translations for each one of these words,
I translate now the Siddur in Russian, it's like the same with the different words in one translation.
we don't have that richness, so you talk about.
The praise and the praise and the praise and the praise.
But somehow in Hebrew it makes a difference, no?
And to appreciate and to recognize.
So how
To
is it?
exalt and to praise and to appreciate and to recognize. And you switch that order over and over again.
Okay, so that puts that to rest. Okay, Bahadar Go'oinoi, the hodor of his Goin. Goin means his aloofness, his strength, his greatness. Shebo gam ken alidei his bonus davko, with which this too comes, this midah also comes out only through his bonus. And what is the his bonus that brings out this midah? His bonus is the yoiker v'tiferes gedulas oirei soy boru. He contemplates the yoiker. Yoiker, the word yoiker means dear. Dear means expensive, like we know in. But yikor also does not mean dear in that sense. Yikor means something unusual and unique. Something that is hard to find is called a dover yokor. With the Tiferes and the glory and the beauty, Gdulas Oirin Soibor, or the greatness of Oirin Soib. This is a Hisbonenus all on its own, all by itself. Different than the Hisbonenus of that we spoke about before of Chesed and Gvura, where you either you contemplate essentially from your own perspective how kind Hashem is or how awesome He is, which means how kind He is to me and how awesome He is from my perspective. This is something else completely. He contemplates in the beauty that Hashem has expressed and to us. I mentioned it many times in our different talks, that a person has to contemplate not just the world, not just from the perspective how it pertains to him, but just appreciate the beauty and the greatness of the world. The infinite variety, that exists in the world, the infinite beauty, the multicolors. All of this is reflective of Hashem, of the Creator, everything that exists. Is all reflective of Hashem. But in that itself, there are different aspects. There is the multiplicity, there are multiple different things. There are multiple things. There are multiple insects. There are multiple lowly animals, snakes and worms and all kinds of things. But that doesn't bring out beauty. That just says, infinite multiplicity. But we have to reflect on something which actually brings out the beauty and gives us a sense that it's an uplifting experience. And the person contemplates, this is for real. See, the problem that we have in this contemplation, in this regard, is that when we look at the world, we think of it as a natural world. Like they say, the beauty of nature. And we don't recognize that this nature is actually a creation. This nature is actually a reflection of a godly presence.
What's the difference, if any, of what you're speaking about now and what we spoke about earlier, the Rav Tuva, and a person who's finding the Rav Tuva the Eberster? Seemingly, we talk about the same thing in both cases, the incredible abundance and variety which we find in. We spoke about it earlier.
Right. But there, the emphasis is how much goodness Hashem has expressed. And He supplies everything with its needs. It's all the emphasis on the goodness. Here, the emphasis on Hashem Himself, and the fact that it's all glorious. Let us proceed a little bit, and we'll bring out the points as we go along. Okay. V'nikra b'zohar. In the Zohar, this midah is referred to leistakolo b'yikolo de malko. Leistakolo means to look at, b'yikolo in the unique greatness of the malka of the king. I remember my children were small still, and they had a friend visiting them, and we received a sales magazine, a sales journal from Sears. Sears, a big department store. And in there they had all kinds of different furnishings. It's a very, very big store. It has all kinds of different things. And this kid said, I like to leaf through these pages. Makes me feel good.
I like to leaf?
To turn on these pages. Makes me feel good. You're not going to get these furnishings. This is just looking at the paper, at the beautiful dining rooms, living rooms, whatever now. But just to look at it made her feel good. There is a certain impression that's made on the person in looking at things, at unique things, at special things, of beauty and grace and wealth. Even though this is not my beauty, this is not my grace, this is not my wealth, nevertheless, it gives a person an uplift. It gives a person good feeling. Why? Because it doesn't have to be mine. Its existence in the world gives me a different perspective of the world. It doesn't have to be mine. There is grace, there is beauty, and that's the kind of world I live in. That's the king that I serve. Doesn't have to be mine. Hasn't it? This is not a question of, mine is a person, is the thought, I can show off, I can show that I have these things. That's not the real experience of it. The real experience is to understand what type of world I live in. Who is the master that I serve? How great is the king that we serve? This is what it's about. Makes no difference where you see it. It still gives you an uplift and still gives you a sense of grace. And this is within the capacity of our intellect, of our seichel, to look into and to concentrate and contemplate the ikora, I'm looking for the word to translate the word yikor. Preciousness. K'meisha Kosev, as the Posik says, Melech biyofioi techezeno einecha. That when you observe a king, you should see biyofioi. You should observe and recognize his beauty. And that gives you a special impression, special uplift. V'yodua, it is known, de'inayim heim bechinas chochma, that the real eyes is the chochma. Chochma is on the higher level. In the koiches hanefesh, chochma is called the ayin, the eye. Just like we discussed this thing that Chochmah is connected to ayin in many different ways, but in regards to this, I want to bring it out how it pertains here. When somebody observes something of exquisite beauty, special beauty, special, so he can figure out and find out how much did it cost to build this, how many workers were involved, how long did it take, who was the architect, who was the designer, who was the engineer, all kinds of different things. That will not give him a sense of the beauty. I will tell him all the different things about it. What gives him a sense of the beauty? The observation, the looking at it. On the contrary, when he starts thinking in terms of, what are the details that go into it and so forth, then it's he's distracted already from his beauty. He's looking at something else. The same thing is Chokhmah. Chokhmah versus Bina we discussed many times. Chokhmah recognizes the essence. Like we said the other day, we talked about the intrinsic value. Chokhmah relates to the real thing. It sees it as a reality. In Bina, you can contemplate what are the ingredients that go into it. But that's not the beauty. The beauty is how everything blends together. How everything cooperates. And only to bring out its beauty. You'll understand the concept of blending from a simple illustration. Merging together, coming together, everything works together, which is part of the beauty. That's Tiferes. On a team, on a sports team like baseball or football or soccer, there's a team, and each member of the team really wants to excel. You know what excel? He wants to be recognized on his own. That's because the more he's recognized, the more millions he gets. But if he does not know how to cooperate with the other team members, then he cannot play on the team. He has to cooperate with the team has to work together. And the biggest beauty of sports is that they cooperate perfectly together. Like if you are playing basketball, you're supposed to bring the ball to a basket and throw it into the basket. So if a teammate, he wants to be the one to throw it into the basket. So he stands on the other side of the court and he runs with the ball. He wants to he should throw it in, because if he passes it to another person, so the other one is going to get the credit for it. He doesn't want that. That he can play on the team. He has to pass it. Because that's the only way that the team as a whole will have a chance to get a basket. He on his own may get more chances this way, but the team can lose the game. He has to. So the beauty of a team is when they are in perfect cooperation with each other. There is not a thought of one being excelled. And then each one has a proper place. Each one has his proper place on the court, and they do their thing. A similar thing is in beauty, that you have different colors, but you don't pay attention to the individual colors. The beauty is in how the colors blend together and to bring out a completely different message. And that exists only in the eyesight, in sight. It doesn't exist in any place else. Because in sight you see it all at once, as one. Then you see just this. How many colors were? I don't know. It was very beautiful. You saw it, you can't tell me how many colors there were. No? Because that wasn't the thing that I saw. You understand?
What's the difference between that and when you hear a beautiful piece of music and you hear all the instruments coming together? and you hear not rather each particular instrument, but you hear the composition of all of them, or even similar, but kind of.
It's a similar Indian.
So like taste, you hear when you take a bite of food, so you taste all the spices, not just one spice by itself and then another spice by itself, but you taste the, what's the word, amalgam taste.
It's a similar Indian, and all that relates back to the Chokhmah. The reason you're able to see it that way and to hear it that way is because of Chokhmah. Just like in sight. In sight, you do see individual colors. They're right there in front of you. But you notice a blend because of your Koyach HaChokhmah. Because Chokhmah is able to focus in on the essence. This is why we said before, there is the essence. There is something what's called intrinsic value. Not that is a composite of other things. Chokhmah is able to focus in on the essence of the Sinyan. This essence, in order to express it, you have to have multicolors. But these multiple colors are not what I'm looking for. It is the essence that it's trying to bring out. This is like Chokhmah and Bina. Bina draws it from the Chokhmah. And therefore the Chokhmah has all the ingredients of the Bina. So what's the difference? The difference is that Chokhmah has the essence. And Bina only says, oh, this is what this essence is composed of. This is what's contained in it. But its richness is recognized on its essential level.
So Chokhmah would be when you look at a picture and you say, it's beautiful, and they say, what's beautiful? And you say, look at it, can't you see it's beautiful? And Bina would be like, well, it's the combination of the hues of blue and the red and the shadow and this and that. That would be when you're already trying to break it down and trying to explain. But essentially, that which makes it beautiful is not the separate parts, but that it's essentially beautiful.
Essential, not what makes it beautiful. Essential, the concept of beauty is a higher concept than the composite. The whole concept exists on the Chokhmah level. And the idea of Chokhmah is the whole principle of Chokhmah is, like we say all the time, that there is such a thing as an essential truth. Everything that is used to express it is only used to express it. That's not what it is. Just like you have a thought, and you want to express this thought, and it takes you 100 words to express it. You didn't think the 100 words. You thought of a certain idea. These words are derivatives of that. And the richness of the thought itself can never be expressed because it's a true thought. It's a reality in itself. I have to interject here. I have to bring in, I have to point out. All the time to point out why we have a difficulty in recognizing this. And that is because we live in the physical world. And to us, particularly by our education and exposure, it seems that the composition is the whole thing. What is the basic unit in the science? What is the basic unit of matter, basic unit of existence? An atom. No, a proton, a neutron, and an electron. You know, that's the basic, everything is built from that. If you have that, you can build everything. What is the basic ingredient of existence from our perspective? A godly spark. Do you understand the difference? A godly spark that includes everything. That is the essence of truth. This is why we have a difficulty in relating, but the whole Chokhmah is closer to recognizing the spark, the real thing, whereas Bina sees the composite. But we shouldn't be fooled and say, oh, the composition is what makes it. It's not true. The composition is only a means to express it here in our world. But what is being expressed is a godly spark. The composition can decompose. The godly spark cannot decompose. It's a real thing.
Who's going to transpose?
Decompose. Compose, decompose. Yes, you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to. This that so the main place is because of the question of Noach. I also had the same question. So, even here you hear a thing and you feel this beauty, is because the main place is in the sight, but it also comes in a way to all the other senses.
Yeah, you get it through the composition. But if you understand music, you don't listen with the notes. You listen to the message, to the beauty of it, to the essence that it's expressing, which is in Chokhmah. Melab Yofit Echzenu Nechel Sheyaskil v'yizboinen b'yikora de Malko, which essentially means that that one has to be maskil, he has to conceptualize, and then reflect Yikora de Malko, the preciousness of the king, the glory of the king. Specifically, what is it? Shehu ha'hizbonu knows b'gedulas Ein Sof, which is the hizboneness in the greatness of the Ein Sof. Eich shemechayo mahave eilam as adin ketz ve'adin tachlis. To be misboinen in the greatness, how the greatness is sustains and quickens worlds adin ketz. Ve'eich hu memale kolam v'sever kolam. And it contemplates how Elokus is within all objects. Within every object in the world there is Elokus, there is a godly spark. And then there is Sevel Kol Almin, there's a godly spark that encompasses the whole world. When one would contemplate the Riboy Oilams, the multiplicity of worlds,
We know only four.
Yeah, these four are just general stops. You know what I'm saying? It's like a train going from one place to another. Then he has stops. He has 4 stops. Between that, there are all kinds of different levels.
In one olam,
Excuse me?
It's levels in one olam.
In this world, there are many worlds. In this physical world of ours. Yes, in general, this is Olam Hazeh. But there are many worlds. There are as many worlds as there are people. Each person has a completely different perception of the world. וכשיסבוינן בריבוי האילומס והנברואים שנזהבו, when one would contemplate in the multiplicity of worlds and nivroim that were created, ukmei shekosu morabu maasecho, morabu maasecho, how great and multiple are your deeds. The Heim, and these are doimein tzoimeya chai medaber. In general, these are 4 categories. Sheyesh bohem b'zeh ribu yotzu. But within that, these 4 categories, there's a ribu yotzum, there is an extreme multiplicity. Ubifrat, and then more particularly, Shemizboin b'nivroim ho'elyonim, shehem hashomayim v'chol tzva. If he would contemplate the upper creatures, that which he sees when he lifts his eyes, hashomayim v'chol tzva, the heavens, and v'chol tzva, and all the hosts, all the planets and everything that it fills the sky. Shazeh ne'emar, regarding that it says, Ma godlo ma'asecho havai. How big, simply big, great, in size, are the deeds. Sheheim g'deilei hanivroim, which simply refers to the g'deilei hanivroim, the greater hanivroim. וכמי הגלגלים בשמש ויורח והכיכובים. So, shemesh ויורח וכיכובים, we know what that is. And we also know a little bit of the great power and the great size of all of these entities. The Galgalim we don't know very much about, but the Galgalim, this is essentially that which encircles the world. And every entity, every creature, every part of the entire cosmos has its particular place in the heavens, and it has its particular route, movement, particular route how it circles around space or around the world. This is called the Galgal.
Like around the sun, all the planets, they like.
That's right. All the different.
5,000 years and it's the same all the time. It's not move right or left.
Right. That's about that. This refers to Shemesh Yorech and Tichovi. But the truth is that every star has its Galgal, and there are billions of stars. And then beyond that, Malochim ho'elyonim, the Ruchnisdike, the higher Malochim, Efanim v'chayes usrofim. Efanim v'chayes usrofim, these are 3 different levels of Malochim. Efanim are the lowest, Efanim are in Yitzira, Chayes are in Bria, and Srofim are in Atzilus. Shekol zen yizhava b'mayma v'ruach piv yizborich. This entire spectrum was created by the utterance of Hashem's mouth. That's the way the Torah describes it. Yoimar Hashem, Hashem said, and it came to be. So I want to discuss a little bit this last few words, Maimer Ruach Piv, before we end today. This reflection that was created by Maimer Ruach Piv, by an utterance of Hashem's mouth. Clearly, we have to understand what we mean by this, because the Hashem doesn't have a mouth. Certainly, we didn't see that mouth, so we don't know how to be spoiled from His mouth. So, therefore, when we say that it was a Maim of Ruach Piv, it means to say that we should contemplate what is an utterance, what is a statement mean to us, and then from this we will draw on. This is this is what the Torah means to express to us how Hashem created the world. There are several things that we can say about an utterance. About an expression, a saying, as a speech. The first thing is that an utterance is not engaging, is not tiring a person. A person can speak. Utterance, expression, to speak, to say something. It doesn't engage a person like he doesn't have to be fully engaged in it, like a person is walking or doing something with his hands. He is not affecting the scene, this speech by action. This is something which comes to him very without effort. Without effort. Another thing is an utterance that let's say if I were going to describe to you a cup. So the description of the cup would not be a cup. The description of the cup would be its appearance, and it would be its functionality. You know what functionality is? Its utility. Which means that when you speak about something, you speak, like say, I want a car. A car is not a unit, it's not an entity. A car is 4 wheels and a chassis and a box and the seats. A car is many, many things. And yet, with one word, I can refer to all of these things. When you have to do it, you have to do each thing separately. But when you refer to it by words, you refer to an inyan, to an entity. which means that when Hashem created, like it says in the Torah, Teitze Horetz Nefesh Chaya, the earth should produce living things. The water should sprawl fish, and fowls should fly in the air. So the Torah expresses there in these words not the components that make it happen. It says there should be fowl flying around. It doesn't say how it's going to fly, and what makes them able to fly. Just fowl should fly. In other words, he created the essential being itself. The detail, how that happened to work, that was a derivative of that creation. So that if Hashem wants that they should fly, it fly. How it will fly, that way depends on the circumstance. You know the story with the Gemara of Mechanina ben Deisa, that his daughter came to him and she said by mistake she put in vinegar instead of oil. She didn't have oil for Shabbos candles. So he said, Mishu Omar L'Shema v'yadlik, Yemar L'Chaymetz v'yadlik. The one who commanded oil that it should burn, he will command that the vinegar should burn. So she put in a wick into the vinegar and it burned. The creation reflects, and this is where we see the glory of the creation. It reflects its object. It reflects the inyan itself. Like we see the birds flying. So you say, birds flying? Oh, they know how to fly. They flip with their wings. That makes them fly. No, that doesn't make them fly. What makes them fly is that they're meant to fly. They have this function and this purpose that they have to fly. And then it translates itself on the physical level that it has wings and it flies this way. As a matter of fact, the Gemara says that when it says that will be fowl that will fly, that did not create only the birds, it created the malachim that also fly. It includes the entire spectrum of that type of creature. This is how Hashem created the world. He created the world from top-down perspective. And that's the real thing that we observe. Its real function, its real demonstration, what it demonstrates, that's the real thing. And this is where we see the glory coming out.
You just say that Hashem said, let there be birds that fly, and from this created birds with the wing structures, they do all these, it didn't happen the other way around. Not that Hashem said, let there be created birds with wings in this shape that they push down air and the feathers spread and they displace and
Exactly right.
So what's so much greater about that? Why is that? What's the
It creates something that flies, not something that flies inadvertently. What you're describing is that it flies inadvertently, like the airplane flies. The airplane doesn't fly. The airplane doesn't know that it's flying. It's being pushed up, so it flies. The bird knows that it flies. This is its nature.
if it wouldn't be created like that, if it would be like Noah says that the wings should be like this and this. So the concept itself that the birds are flying wouldn't be like they're flying. They're going through the air. Like the whole idea that Hashem created the birds that they should fly, this is because there is a flying concept, not that they are made in a way that like you say they can be.
That's right. They're made in a way. This is only to translate this principle of Hashem said flying, how it works out in the physical world. But the Etzem Inyan, the concept itself, was created right there. How does Hashem think of making birds fly? All of a sudden, He made the earth. What?
It means to say that when we look at the world, so that concept which you keep talking about, the idea that when you look at the world, really what you're seeing is you're seeing with Chachma, and the entire idea is to connect back to that truth of Chachma. That's the same truth which Hashem created the world with.
That's right.
When Hashem created the world, the same thing that when you see, even though you don't realize that you see it, when you look at day and you see that there's something here and it's not whatever, the combination of all the different elements. That's what Hashem said, let there be day. Meaning He didn't say let there be a sun in this position and let the clouds be in this position and let the atmosphere reflect this color, whatever. Let there be day. So we see the same thing with Chachma. That's what Hashem really created the world with. And everything else is just a result of that emes and how the world was created.
That's right, and this is where, in reflecting on this is where we see the greatness of the world. Otherwise, it gets completely lost. An interesting thing in the Torah. The Torah speaks about the various animals, kosher animals, not kosher animals. And it says that the sign for a kosher animal is that it chews its cud and it has split hooves. Okay. So, chewing its cud is also a natural thing in an animal. But nevertheless, that entails an action. You see, he's chewing its cud. He has to act. But splitting the hoofs, this is the way it's born. He doesn't split his hoofs. He is with split hoofs. Okay. But if you look in the pasuk, it talks about split hoofs. He split his hoofs. He didn't split his hoofs. In the Chumash, it says that he chooses his card, but he doesn't split his hooves. Therefore, he's not kosher.
A camel?
A camel. It says, Parsa lo yafris. But he refuses to split. He didn't split. He refuses to split his hooves. What's the implication? The implication is that the splitting of the hoofs is a siman, is a sign for a kosher animal, not kosher animal. Hashem created animals, and He gave them, He put into them various spirits, so to speak, various chayas. If he has a kosher chayas, he will split his hoofs. If he doesn't have a kosher chayas, he won't split his hoofs. This is already how it materializes. Because Hashem created the essence, the essential thing, the kosher animal.
Because the animal then do the splitting? I don't understand.
Why?
Is it the animal that's splitting the hoof?
I don't know. That's what it says in the pasuk.
But it sounds like it's happening on its own. But Hashem is doing it.
Hashem gave him a spirit, and then everything happens from that. It's not a bechira, but it still happens from a higher source. You understand what I'm saying?
The same way that Hashem
Happens
said
from
the
the
birds
spirit.
can fly.
Yeah.
The same way that Hashem said the birds can fly.
Birds
And
can
he didn't, I mean, so to speak, he didn't enumerate in the pasuk how to make the feathers.
Right.
Right.
Which is why it's the penguin's fault that they don't fly.
But then,
What?
is this like related back to the idea of something intrinsic? Like if God would create that because they are like this, they fly, but then it's not that He created something intrinsic.
Flight.
It depends on the circumstance.
That's exactly what I'm trying to point out. Exactly it. Then there's nothing to it. It flies. It doesn't fly. It all depends on his wings.
He doesn't need God, basically. He flies because he has good wings and he has good... This is a science word.
In other words, there isn't a godly principle in the fact that that it flies. There says, no, there is a godly principle. This is a special creature that Hashem made that they should fly. This was His instruction to them.
Shouldn't it be that if God makes the kosher animal, then God will make it this creature that will have a split hoof when it's born, like we see in actual fact. That when the animal is born, if it has a split hoof and it chooses cud, then it's kosher animal. So I don't understand why it says that he splits it if he doesn't split it, like you said.
That's what it says in the pasuk. Asan liyafris.
You leave us with a question?
What?
Leave us with a question?
Yeah.
Another question. It's based on this concept, but I didn't want to ask it. It's based on something else that I learned. This idea that Hashem creates not the possibility but the concept, the essence of the thing.
Right.
This concept that I